From Mooresville, Indiana. He drives the Daystar Directional Drilling, Edco General Contractors, Collision Concepts, BooyahDarts.com 35. It's Zach Hampton.
All right, so this is filmed like a week after I actually got done filming. Justin was going through footage, and I didn't really do like a shop or trailer tour or whatever in the beginning. Kind of showed everything real quick, and that was it. So he wanted me to do a proper one or more in-depth one. So that's what we're going to do now. I apologize for the mess. Like I said, I got done filming a week ago. It's Thursday the 15th now, and I'm going to be moving my first trip. Like I'm going to have to take 2 loads or whatever to Iowa. So I'm making my first one a week from today. So I'm pretty disorganized as I kind of am trying to figure out how I'm going to pack this stuff into the trailer and get it in just 2 trips. But yeah, so we'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and just start with the mule. This is a clutter. I'm selling my toter home, and this is like everything that came out of it, at least on the top. That's why there's, a pillow and granola bars and ramen. But over here, so this is where I usually keep my fuel. I usually get it in by the drum, and we still have to buy at the track a lot, but I've got 2 drums. That one's actually got quite a bit. Actually, they both do. So I'll probably fill my jugs up before I leave, but I'll be back, hopefully racing in Indiana a time or 2. So 2 drums of fuel, and then this is where I put all my waste oil. And then we usually load this up. My dad's mechanic takes that. He's got like an oil burning furnace or whatever. This is a little cart. I need to get rid of all these tools. They're like old tools or whatever. As you can see, I went and got my silver crown seat. You'll kind of figure that part out later. The car we built doesn't have a seat in it. But yeah, so this is a mess up here just because I just unloaded that stuff. But I keep like power tools I don't really use that often down here. Just kind of where they are. I wish it was a little bit neater, but I mean, at least the cords are wrapped up and all that. This right now was being used as like, I'd shipped a bunch of stuff out to get checked on. So that's what this stuff was here. This is some gear stuff. So I've got to filter this back into another jug. And then I've got all my line stuff out, which during the winter, I usually just keep these out. Otherwise, they're in the mule. But these are all the ones I need to get cleaned. And then there's new or clean ones in there. So then these are like the 2 main workbenches. As you can see, like we've usually got the cars kind of lined up with them. Not perfectly, but like kind of just tape labeled when we tore the cars down, which stuff was where. I keep all my panels. I should have showed you while I was over here. So I just use like let's see, like a wood screw. And then all the panels for each car hang from there. Obviously, there's 3 here, and this car is getting a new set, but the old ones are over there. They just got pretty tore up at the Lernerville High Limit crash, and that one's got them on it, so new ones on that car. So some older sets, but good to keep spares. So like these are the 2 main workbenches. We've got our TV and our Alexa, which I'm happy I didn't. Oh, sorry, Alexa, turn off. I'm glad I got that as a gift because she sucks. She doesn't listen to anything I say. So yeah, we've got, just some parts for each car under here. This car, I'm working on getting all the spares made up. So that's why the shocks and those stops are off right now. And then we've just got some spare stuff over here that's like, I started getting stuff set out that I'll have to take, and I need to get into boxes and whatnot to move. And then we've just got some more parts and stuff over here that I've been getting out and trying to get organized. These U-joints, I got to get new yokes on them. They're pretty used. The bases are good. We got base plates for our tacks and stuff, and then we've got all our parts and stuff in this box. And then this is a mess right now, but usually I keep all like boxes and packing stuff just down there so that I have spares like when stuff comes in. And then this is usually all new parts. Some of that up there, we've got like some stuff that I'm not using, our old ones that I need to sell. Like I've gone to a different brand or type, but for now they're spares. We've got some body panels, old body panels, and then some like Kaizen foam up here, which is how I'll show you the mule. And then we've got new parts, new wing cylinders, some axle nuts, brand new axle beam, which actually doesn't go over here, but that's where it is right now. Some arms, motor plate, and then down here is actually some stuff for the kit car, which usually sits as, I'll probably put like floor pan and motor plate in this car, and then like I'll put this car together, but I'll tear everything back out, and then those parts will go into the trailer as spares, and that'll usually just sit as a frame. So this was all when we were tearing down one of the cars, so it's just parts. I just need to get this stuff back into bolt bins, get a birdcage bearing and this and some new bolts in that, and just get that stuff organized back together. So over here, we've got our parts cleaner. So I've got some stuff I want to take apart and, clean before I go, and I probably won't put it back together till I'm out there, but these bird cages, I'm going to pull the seals out and everything and then redo those. Motor plate from that Lernerville high limit crash, if anyone was wondering how hard that was. I mean, it just split the thing in two. So, and then I've got all my helmets over the years here. And then this is usually, other than this, which is I can put my helmet or gloves or anything on to dry shoes. But for the most part, this is where I set like used parts that are good, but we're cycling out. So like gonna sell, and that was pretty full earlier in the winter. This is my least favorite part of the shop. This is like all three of those tail tanks are no good. Like you can really tell on the black one there, but the other two are no good too. Like that one's got a big gash under it where the rotor hit it and just destroyed it. So that's stuff I need to like sell or maybe do a giveaway, whatever. And then really my second car, but first good car I bought a couple cars from Kane at the end of the year. So I've got like a full Brad Sweet body. But yeah, this is usually where the axles sit. Like the rears were on here and before I put them in the cars, and now into the, some of them in the trailer. And then there's only one tire up there because I've got the rest in the trailer. But the new tires that are like sized, we've already mounted them and know what they're going to be. They usually go there. But there's a lot of this stuff is just stuff like I've got this shelf here is like stickers and stuff. And I've probably got some that are 15 years old, but just, stuff changes all the time. But it's like stuff I can't get rid of because it'll be useful, but like there's not a place for it, which normally I just throw that kind of stuff away. But I start throwing stuff away and I'll have nothing in here. So, and then usually some wings here. This one, I'm going to just stop powder coating and I'm done spending the money. But this is from Eldora. So that sideboard's got to go on there, which I'll do before I leave. This wing, I don't know. I might take it with me and just have it as a spare, but it's not going to match the nose wings. So I've got some wheels out. Our four-wheeler, and then over here is kind of like I wouldn't say fab because I'm not really a good fab guy. I mean, I can usually make stuff okay, but, we've got a belt sander, our grinder and wire wheel. This, I can't even think of the word. Mill is actually one my dad bought, and then it wouldn't fit in his shop, so he put it here, and I've actually had a lot of fun. I've been playing on that and like watching videos, trying to figure that out. And then we've got some parts here that I just haven't taken apart, but we had one of these split at Huset's, and I just haven't had time to really inspect it yet. My Harbor Freight little drill press, I'm usually good enough for what I do, and then I just broke this last night, so I got to get a new blade. And then I'll give you guys a quick little mule tour. Obviously, I hung up my hangers when I brought the toter in here and this, but so on this right side, we always keep our engine heater here. I made those tabs. They don't work as well as I'd like. I need to redo them, but that's so it can sit on the car instead. But we've got some aerosol stuff, flashlight, brake, and some other little, grease and other things we might need. Zip ties, and then there's our torsion bar rack. It looks empty because I've got a bunch out that I'm cleaning right now. And then there'll usually be 2 fuel jugs here, and then the air tank and fuel jugs, so like open red situation. you're going to get in this cabinet. And then, as you saw me put, these away are rivets. And then actually I've got like, not quite a full kit, but anything we could repair in the work area in case a bolt, nut, bolt, spacer, whatever gets lost. We've got that in here. And then some mud covers. And then that's actually on top of those two is usually where I have my the caps and plugs. So back of the mule, we've got 2 drills, 2 impacts, and then we've got a drag link up here, box of rags, and then I usually leave our air gauge up here. You just use it so much. And then in here, this is where the Dremel actually goes, but we've got some grease, some tape, knives, flashlights, blades, some markers, stuff like that. And then I've got my tap set. This will have some more tape in it. And then we've got some shock stuff and then some more bolts, nut and bolts that we might use, shock shims, pliers and cutters and whatnot. Like I said, everything's foamed out so it has its place. Like I know where that screwdriver is, but the best part about it is if something's missing. Wrenches, so we've got 2 adjustables and then 7/8, 15/16, 1 inch, some line wrenches, and like a metric, which we don't have metric on the car, but you never know when you need something metric. And then everything's just color coded, so instead of trying to read whatever, you just look at the color. We've got our sockets, so we've got our Milwaukee electric ratchet, torque wrench. We don't use much 1/2-inch drive stuff, but there's a set back here with a wrench. And then we've got all of our 3/8, and I don't actually have any quarter stuff in here because we just don't use it. And then we've got some files, hammers, some clamps, tie wire, stuff in here. I'm going to eventually add foam for these, but I just haven't gotten around to it. And then this is like our crash bin. So spare set of radius rod, bird cage, an arm made up, a spare set of arms in case that's it, front arms, pitman arm, couple fuel lines, Jacob's ladder. These are just, sometimes we have to put them on, some wing stuff. And then there's, not in here right now, but normally we'll have a wing ram in here as well. And then over here, this drawer is a mess, but I know how everything goes. So we've got some gloves and our grinding. I've got a sanding disc on one and a grinding on one, our torch, some spare, whatever. And then some of this stuff I don't ever really use at the track, but I don't know. This drawer needs organized, but I haven't come up with a good way to do it. So then I've got my drill bits and taps, some picks, stuff like that in here. Again, not the most organized, but with how much stuff there is, it's about as organized as it can get. So this will have all the setup blocks, but they're on both cars right now. So setup blocks in here. And this is where actually when we're going to the track, the air gauge sits in here. And some extra spacers. And this is to check like the gas pressure on your shocks, oil filter cutter. And then this is a spare weather station. And then this is all my fuel stuff. So I just sold a couple motors, so I've got stuff missing because I had to sell it with motors. So I've got parts coming, but main pills, my main computer. We've got nozzle sets in here. I've got a couple being cleaned, so there's a couple more that go in there. An extra fuel shutoff for in the car. We've got a stumble valve for running mufflers. We got some spare parts. And then all of our pills are in here. We go from 50 to 72. And then I've got bigger ones in those pill holders back there that we don't use very often. And then this is like I don't know, I always just called it the driver's drawer. I got Sharpies, batteries, my receiver. And then this is actually for my earbuds to stay in, markers, batteries, stuff I need. And then we've got our Allen wrenches up here. So we've got tape measures, some smaller tape measures, stagger tapes, a normal angle finder, digital angle finder, like a speed square deal, a flat edge, all in there. And then up here is honestly doesn't get used much, but it's got some like air tools and then like a kit to plug a tire. And yeah, this drawer does not get utilized because you can't tell, but I'm on my tippy toes, so I don't use the top drawers very much. And then just the other side. So this is a tray for when I do engine maintenance, and then we've got a timing light. And then here we've got some blocks, and then these go in the injection. You'll see that later. Spare set of shocks usually sits here. And then there'll be a set of bleeders down here, and then some other stuff. Exhaust port covers, another gear change tray, and then we have gear lube here and a full set of radius rods. And then it's not on there right now, normally spare nose wing up here. And then you can see wickers up there, which we won't need since we can only run a 1-inch now. But that's actually usually where the drag link goes as well. So I don't know how long Justin wanted this, but yeah, as you can see, like I'm trying to just get organized. So when we first come in, this is, usually folded up until we unload, and then it's down the whole night. So these blocks are actually to go on the spare car when it goes up top. And then we've got a set of bleeders in there, and that's normally on the bench. But some more rivet guns, our little blower to blow the dirt out, which usually goes up here. So we've got chargers up there. And then on this side is where the blower usually sits. And then I just had some lines and stuff out checking what was in here. So we've got our airline up here, and then we've got a set of stands, which is usually only used either for maintenance or, if I mess up and wreck it. We've got our ladder to the deck, and then a extension electrical cord, which I don't really use that often. As you can see, the TV's plugged into it, so it can't go very far. I just use normal extension cords. This holds a heated sipe gun. And then we've got our shovel, which, as you can tell, has fallen a couple times. And then we've got our wheel balancer. And then behind the shirts are a thing for spare mud covers that aren't in there right now, and all of our tie down stuff. And then we'll just go left side down. So this is like the tire cabinet. The bottom is simple green, which we always use as a car wash instead of their stuff. And then we've got beadlock bolts. We've got different blades for grooving, spare valve stems, more blades, bleeders, wheel center bolts, weights, everything we need. Tape for our wheel weights. We've got wheel weights up here, another bead breaker. That's for like sanding the tires down. A little air hose in case someone's using that. The tire guy can plug in right here and still get air. So that's kind of the tire cabinet. And then this is usually, we've got a spare air dam in there. And then this will be, I'll have a gas and a diesel jug here. And then we usually have some cases of oil, and then some outerwears, some towels, rags. That'll have like the box of fuel lines, and our rivet guns go in here for a set of gauges. And then the next cabinet, so this is actually a double door. So this is all fuel. So I carry one that's, taped and very, very well marked, obviously discolored. It's older. That's where our waste oil goes, like when we're kind of on the road or whatever. And then we can put 6 fuel jugs on the bottom, 5 here. And then I've got all my air filters up top. So that's a very simple cabinet. Up above this, there's none in there. I'm not getting new ones till I get out to Knoxville. These all hold a nose wing apiece, right? So I can have 4 nose wings in here. And then there'll be a top wing hanging here. So our next double cabinet, as you can see, is a little offset. So this has got 2 complete front ends. I've got a couple rears being fixed, so there will be another rear end down here, 2 complete rear ends. And then it can actually hold 2 axle beams as well. I use this to hold all my wickers, which I won't need that many this year. And then we've got some ladders, some little things I made. They're not from HRP. And then we've got a torque tube here, some aluminum to just patch something up in a hurry if we have to. Spare wing tree, there's usually a couple there. Bumper, torque ball, another torque tube holder. And then this is like, if something happens, if I have to pull in and we put 30 gallons in it for a feature, but we only run 3 laps, we usually have to pump it out. So that's what that's for. And then just a box of spare bungees and ratchet straps. And then up here, we've got a wheel rack. So just bare wheels can go up there. Usually we carry some spares. This has just got paperwork and such and some Band-Aids, first aid kit, and then paperwork on the trailer and all that. And then carry a spare mag up there, some other spare parts that like you just very seldom would use, but come in handy in a pinch. Some fuel lines. I've got a full set of fuel lines up there. And then that's usually got some like fuel pumps and stuff like that in it, which they're all boxed up because they got checked. And then this is usually my corner. So obviously I haven't cleaned this helmet yet, but my other helmet sits in here. I want to get like a tray of some kind or make one that holds my helmets, but it's just not a priority. So I haven't gotten to it yet. And then we've got spare engine bay, but I don't use it. I don't have enough motors to need 2. So this is usually extra fuel just because I can get it so much cheaper here by the barrel than I can at the track. And then our ladder here to get up to the deck, which usually I had to make this part, but my ladder usually sits like that, like when we're going racing. This is the engine cabinet we use because it's taller, so I can actually have the air box mounted, and then we've got our air compressor in there. So like the air cleaner, everything, U-joint, all that can be on the motor when it's in this engine cabinet. So that one's too like not wide enough and not tall enough for all that. So if I were to use that, it wouldn't be like a motor that's ready to go in the car. Whoops. Wrong order of operations there. And then we've got a tire rack here. So 3 left rears on the bottom so that the 4-wheeler can fit in here. And then there's 3 right rears. And then I usually carry 2 left rears up top and 2 fronts. Occasionally I'll do 3 left rears up top and 3 down here, and then 1 of the spare fronts down here and 1 up there, but it's a really tight fit. And then this has normally got the spare car dead center with our track here, but it's not there right now, so I've got some tires up here. So it's usually spare car in the center, and then we'll have some tires not mounted, like lined up along the side. So we've got 2 header racks here. I've got a couple sets down because I was cleaning them. Two more here. So usually I carry my 2 spare open headers here, 2 with mufflers on this side, and then we go to the track. Like if we know we're going somewhere with mufflers, we have mufflers on the car. If we know we're going where we can run open on the car, and then we've got 2 extra sets of each. So, and then we've got a spare steering gear, and then a bunch of mud covers that aren't quite ready. The mud cover deal down there's will have like its Zeus's in, but these are just spares. A tail tank hangs here, and then these are your reels for when these are sliding. And then back here, I don't have them up here. That holds a set of Nerf bars, front, both sides, and a rear. Spare radiator mount, and then we've got a bunch of spare torsion bars up here as well. So that's everything up top. The car takes up most of the room. Show you guys kind of from here. So those little black things on the top, that's what your wings, part of the top wings sit in. One side sits in this. Like you put that side in and lift the wing up, and then you slide that over and set it down, and then you bungee it just so it can't move. And then I did this when I first got it because I was racing in PA, but like all these small little whatever, this will get some guys going, right? They labeled them, and they labeled this top one porch. As you can see, that's the porch light. So I just went ahead and renamed that one. That's the posse light. So, and then spare shocks here can actually carry, like I can actually carry, I guess it would be 3 sets of shocks because there's 2 whatever. So you can get a set there and here, and there's 6 of them. So you can do like the first 4 a set, and then another set, and then with these 2 you can do a set. But I don't have that many shocks. So then we've got radius rods, a bunch of them are out because, like I said, I was making up spares. And then this will hold a radiator here. And then I think that's a spare wheel center, and then our dustpan and little dust deal, and then gear rack. I got these from HRP, but then we made this little thing to kind of hold them all together. And then we've got a little nitrogen bottle, another set of radius rods go there. So usually, like, I'll have this door has to open first. So this set will be like the main car, the car we're running. We'll have all its spares here, and then the car up top will have that rack there. Even though all my cars are the same, they always end up just a touch different. So, and then in here we've got oil filters, so motor oil filters, and then we've got some extra rear end oil, and then a box with some Scotch-Brite. We use that a lot on the headers. You can see Ollie there. And then we've got another little air hose. We've got two extension cords, and then we've got some gauges, some hose clamps, some little filters, another, an empty bin in case we need it. A little bit of extra space down there, and a really long extension cord. What's up, bub? And then we've got like our aerosols for the most part. So we've got glass cleaner. Obviously, all this needs stocked, and then we've got some stainless steel cleaner in here, some engine degreaser and PB blaster, and then we've got some power steering fluid and brake fluid, WD-40, brake clean, and then this actually usually has these stocked up, but I've got to restock all these cabinets before I leave. So, and then in here we've got, so I usually, even though these are antifreeze, like they're emptied, it's just water. And then this is like the stuff that Ayrton used to wipe the car off before we would go out, like when it's muddy. And then just some paper towels, trash bags, some other cleaners, and, like cleaning pads. And then filters we use to reuse rear end fluid, which we don't always use. If it gets too dirty, we won't. But usually we can get away with filtering it a few times. And then we've got, that I skipped over, like, it's not Lista cabinet because that's a brand, but it's, the Lista cabinet. So down here we've got some spares. I've got a rotor. I've got some spare push rods for the motor. And this little guy is like a roller, so you can check stuff for straight radius rods, torque tube, drive shaft, etc. And then some stuff that came with the big grinder. I've got my one wheel charger, some other spare parts, a little heat, whatever, gun. And then in here we've got some like engine stuff. So I've got feeler gauges or spare feeler gauges. We've got some ladder straps in here and some valve springs. These are a breather for like the front of the motor. We've got some wing valves. Yeah, that's not worth getting into. Spark plugs, some fittings that we probably won't ever need, but I had them, so they're just in here in case we do. Moving up, we got more parts. So we've got some torsion stops, some spacers. I've got a bunch of my brake pads in here. And this is an extra seals it for our stacks that go in the motor. I've had some rip before, so I carry a spare because you don't want it. Without these, you'll really get dirty. So, and then we've got some restrictor plates, not plates, but restrictors. And then we've got some arms, nose wing post, another arm. This isn't full. Top wing stuff, some more spacers, and yeah. Moving up, so we've got some silicone, some like screws and stuff that wouldn't go in the race car, but Heims, most of my Heims are out right now, getting like out by the parts washer on a cart getting cleaned. Some torsion bushings, silicone, and our spare propane bottle for the torch. And then we get into like nuts and bolts. So this, I've got some drill bits that we commonly use. These all go in bird cages. We've got some seals. These are some extras out of a brake rotor. These are all for your mud covers, just some extra spares, rear end studs, bolts for your rear caliper to the rear end. rock screen stuff, your whatever, for your bleeders, your bases, a few other little fittings things, some other things, some torsion stop stuff, quick disconnects, spare Zeus's, stuff like that. More bolts. So these are for steering arms. These are for pitman arms. And then these are through actually some of those are birdcage as well. And then we've got studs, shock studs, stuff for the front end, shims, Jacob's ladder stuff, Nerf bars, floor pans, throttle linkages, rear axle, shock studs. And that brakes, those go on from your spindle to your steering arm, rear shock studs, all that kind of stuff, motor plate bolts. These are stop and arm pinch bolts, wing stuff, some more wing stuff, front axles. So most of our bolts we're going to need are here, which is like the third drawer down. And then here's all of our nuts and spacers, a few other odds and ends, but for the most part, all of our nuts and spacers. I use a lot of steel jet nuts. You'll see when I build the car, or like all the half 20 stuff is a reduced head titanium from Smith Top. And then this is just, I've got some Sharpies. Usually I keep my gloves in here, checks when we get paid for racing, some helmet stuff, batteries, markers, stuff like that. And then we've got a radio, keep some batteries charged. I charge all my AAAs for the receiver because I just get tired of throwing one away every single night. And then this is where I can do my high speed pressure. If you know about that, you do. Yeah, I think that's most of the trailer. Like I said, these hoists can go all the way up and down. You just got to take the top wings out when they're in, and then you just pick the front and the rear of the car up. There's actually a time lapse on my Twitter page. If you've never seen that, you'll be able to watch that. I've got two kind of whatever mezzanines up there. You can see the wing from that car I'd bought. I've got some old body panels up there. Some stuff that's not going to be getting used anymore. And then I've actually got another one. If we go into the trailer, another one up here, which is really got nothing. Some tires, one of Brian Paulus's old simulators. I've got some Brian Paulus wing panels, some of mine up there. There's a little bit of furniture that's kind of old that doesn't get used. I always kind of wanted to make that like a cool loft or whatever, but I don't have time to do that kind of shit. I won't even have time to use it. So, yeah, you'll see this car later in the video, but obviously I took the nose wing off and tires and stuff. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the shop and trailer tour, and hopefully you enjoyed the sprint car build as well.